too. Okay, obviously musically, that's fine. For you, I don't know if you want to take one of your pieces, one of your, or an abstraction of the radio play or something like that, or what you're thinking of. What would be most fun is what I'm asking.
Well, we don't really know at this point.
I think
how to
we won't know
direct ourselves.
anything until we get everybody on board.
Start
Well,
looking.
Look at the
I
talents.
think we need to present at least a template for everybody to start on.
The polyaesthetic system is the template.
But I mean, we also have to have an actualization, template that we're going to use to present this thing. So
I
that
thought
it is.
I thought we worked that out in the last few meetings.
Well, okay,
We have decided how we're going to present the grid.
well, and also the audience voting.
Possibly.
Yeah,
But
staging
those are
that.
things that can be fine-tuned later. I mean, I think the concept of it is what we.
I think
agreed on.
we have the concept crystallized.
And I think we
which
have
is-
the concept, yeah. and I
The
think-
concept's crystallized, where what we want to do is present a series of events in which the audience can enjoy using
Right.
the matrix, the aesthetic matrix that he's come up with to see the differences in different people's reactions through that matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, it's simple. Okay, so what we need to do is, I was laughing on my bicycle today, and I was thinking of the idea of using lasers and stuff as forgive me again for being candid, as retro as the disco ball. So if we could come up with a,
The mapping in the auditorium, I've already figured out.
okay, well, then what we have to do is be able to speak the language of the audience so they immediately understand the fun of doing this. They understand the joy of participating in this, things, as well as the pieces that we throw into the stir fry.
I think that would be, that's the job of the introduction we give to the whole thing. We talked
Not
about,
necessarily, that's the sustain.
well, right, but I think getting them to understand is, you do that with the introduction. You take some really simple things that inhabit the corners of the diagram or the space, and like, look, here's deep throat. This is where it goes. We think, anyway.
Well, we might ask the audience to actually participate after we've done a couple of them.
That's a good idea.
Well, I think if the audience knows
Or
that-
if the audience is, if they're split on something, okay, fine, how would you do it?
But I think if
Volunteers,
the
go out
audience
there.
knows that there's a sense of not intimidation and right or wrong, but if they're going, what's the matter with that?
We're talking about S, T, and U, and we haven't even got C and D. We
How
don't
so?
have a theater. We don't have, I would like to see somebody come in that, I don't know that we could get somebody that's, an experienced theater director that understands both science and art.
You got
You've got to convince me that you understand science. You
I was
have.
just going to say that.
I'm thinking somebody needs to be able to understand both worlds.
Okay, here's my understanding of it, okay, and this is maybe why the firewall is coming out, is that I don't see any difference between the two worlds.
That's
Okay,
why there's a
and-
firewall
Hold
coming
it,
up.
hold it, but you do, okay?
Yeah.
And I think the future of science, in the future, because I'm looking at the future, I'm not looking at now or the past, okay? I'm looking at what I'm gonna leave grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren and stuff like that. And the marriage of those can be, the dichotomy can be eliminated. But for this stepping stone, this bridge to that point, it might be nice still to retain, we're doing this in music, this same concept, which is loving historical music as much as contemporary music.
You're fusing ideas.
I have
That's
a
not
question.
Science
I have a
or art.
question, Arthur.
Historical.
Yeah. But you
Explain the marriage, how art and science are the same to you.
to me,
Yeah,
okay.
tell me how you see them as being the same thing, because I don't. I see them, I'm with Kaz, I see them as being very different things. I think all four of us, do we all agree on that, the four of us?
I'll tell you
Art
how.
and science are basically different, not necessarily.
Well, they both have
Basically.
aesthetics.
Right.
You know, they both have aesthetics,
I
but
mean,
the
to me,
aesthetics work completely
The
different.
purpose is different. You know, art is an expression, and science is
But see,
a
that's not the
seeking
case.
for an answer or a testing of a
But, well, science
hypothesis.
is
That's
more
old school.
reflective. I see science as more reflective, and art is more.
But these are 20th century ideas we're talking about. We're not talking about 21st, 22nd century.
But why do
This Arthur,
Why does a date mean that he
the date means nothing.
Okay, then let me put it this way.
Now, we're not
Is
talking
that-
about philosophical trends. We're talking about definitions of art and science. What is the difference between the two? And you say there isn't.
Yes,
a difference.
because a definition is a
I'm the one who
limitation.
really likes these.
A definition is not a limitation. A definition is a categorization.
Well, it is a limitation.
So that you can talk. Well,
It is a limitation, but it has to be by
What do you mean has to
necessity.
be?
By
It has to be.
yeah, as soon as you define something, you boxed it.
Okay,
Okay?
let's get out of the airy, the blah here and
Yeah, we're about to fall asleep, aren't we, John?
Yes. You know, there's in the creative process, okay, whether it's science or art or cooking or furniture or, you know, technological or whatever, there's the same heart and thrust and, you know, humanity behind it. And these things, that process is comprehensive. It's not two-dimensional or monoconceptual, or it's a huge amount of, you go to motive and emotions and beliefs and, you know, just the whole stir-fry of humanness in that thing is you can't really
Well, can we be
say
more- let's be
you're
more
just,
specific.
I can't look at him and say, oh, he's just a scientist, okay? Or he's just got a scientific
Of course
brain.
not.
Because
No, no.
he's doing.
But we can talk about what makes him a scientist
No, but I
and
mean-
what makes him an artist.
I mean,
That's human.
certainly in mathematics, there's, question of
But that's-
aesthetics is very important. You know, there are beautiful theorems, there are ugly theorems.
Do you
Right.
know that thing you
And that's
sent
a
us
case, that's a
of
simple case.
reconsidering robotics? That
Yes.
analog thing,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What was really important about that is that his original setting up of magnetic systems, okay, in those things that were homeostatic, okay, and were sort of self-preserving, are very akin to our consciousness. You know, our consciousnesses, where we are, I didn't send you that thing, did you? But, I mean, it's a wonderful piece, that you know, that analog robotics, not
Yeah,
digital robotics,
yeah, yeah.
is where it shows how simple it is to set up a will, if you have it, within consciousness, that uses situation to constantly preserve itself and learn and do all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I don't think whether you're in science or whether you're in art or whether you're in music or whether you're in something like that, any of our brains and our consciousness are much different there.
No.
You know, we all have brains and hearts and...
It's back to either you're not interested in doing this system or you don't understand it.
Okay, it's
And
not
all-
that.
And I'm still
it's
waiting
not
to
that.
hear how art and science are the same, because you haven't really told me that.
And I need to take a leak, so.
Okay.
Well, okay, there, how
Go-
I'm gonna
continue
address
without me.
that is that why, how, and where, and from what form, and I don't know if it's necessary to address this, but why limit yourself by that dichotomy?
He's asking you a question.
Yes.
How are they the same?
I'm saying that, and I'm trying to answer that in terms of why would you ask that question?
Yeah, but you're dancing.
You're just going around.
Arthur, if I ask you, if you tell me that red and green are the same, and I say
They
how,
are.
well, how?
They are.
Tell me how they are. Tell me how they're the same. That's basically what I'm asking you. How is red and green the same?
Because
When
when
I
you
look at
have
something
a
red and
great
something
palette
green, they look
before-
different
when
to
you're
me.
painting and you have a huge palette in front of you, okay,
Mhm.
you don't say to yourself, in the process of working and creating the painting, okay, you don't go, oh, red is different than green. You're working on the painting.
Okay. Okay.
okay?
But red and green are
The
still
colors
different.
don't matter.
They're still different, because if they were the same, I'd have a black
To a
painting in front of
Let me
it.
To a
get-
scientist, they
Hold
are.
it. Let me give you an example. You couldn't do tonescape without science,
That's right.
okay? And
Absolutely.
you couldn't do tonescape without art,
Absolutely. I
okay?
agree.
So separate them.
Well,
That's what the polyaesthetic mapping does.
Good, I
And if you
understand.
understood
I'll tell
it,
you.
you would understand how it separates it.
But if you understood the fun that I'm coming from, is that,
Why don't
that's
we have
good.
not so much fun and get down to business?
yeah,
Because he wants a 20th century answer, okay?
Well,
Which-
so
This isn't a 20th century.
Why do we have to not have a 20th century answer?
Because Descartes, okay, has done
Well-
his job,
That's what century is Descartes. That's the-
16th, I believe, 17th.
okay? He did
17th,
his
yeah.
job.
So we're interested in a 17th century answer, not a 21st.
Okay,
What we
Kantian
want is the
answer.
21st century answer.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get you.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to
How
get
can we
question
not
is
be giving a 21st century answer? Because we're doing something that's totally new.
Yeah.
you. Here's what's not new to
The whole
me,
thing is
and I have to be
Okay.
transparent about
Okay.
that, okay? Is that the will to aesthetic systems, or to systems in general, okay, are
Now you sound like
useful.
Schopenhauer.
Yeah, I love Schopenhauer.
Okay.
Me too.
19th
Nietzsche
century.
is Nietzsche, yes.
Well, I love all those guys, but you know the
Kant, okay.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
is in other words, Nietzsche's perfect. Okay, the will to a system.
Yeah.
Okay, is noble. Okay, it's useful. It's maybe technological. It's you make a bridge. You know, those are good things. But the thing is, what do you use the system for? Okay, and that's. I'm not trying to be a
You use a system to
here, but-
understand, you know, who the parents are of the child. You have the child, you can see, and you're trying to figure out who's the father and who's the mother.
Yes, but that's for a child.
That's
Okay?
what we're talking about. A work of art is a child.
No, but
And we're trying to find the parents of this child. And one of the parent is
That's
science, and the other parent is art.
I'm sorry, the parent is human consciousness, which comes from.
You just keep, you know, dancing around and jumping out of
Okay, well
You
then
know.
I'll shut up. And all I'm going to say is that I have no problem with the system at all. Okay, I think it's lovely. It's like a piece of poetry to me. It's like a piece of music. Okay, but it doesn't represent ultimate reality.
Well, we're not.
Of course, we're not
We're not concerned with
Okay, well then
ultimate
let's use
If
it.
you want
let's
ultimate
make it-
reality, we'll just continue to eat. You know?
Pack.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peck at the food.
Okay, so I'm going to shut up, and then let's go on to another level in this thing, which is how do we each want to participate in this thing,
Well, you have that experience producing
producing. Okay.
things.
The problem is
Extravaganza.
I'm heavily doused in art. I can do it, but
Well,
I need some.
But you have contacts, that's the thing. is that we don't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to do it yourself, but you have contacts, the people you could recruit to do this. So we need a venue. So basically we need.
We need a venue and.
Okay, well,
and-
let's decide on that.
The venue.
Let's see what we need. Let's just make it.
Well, wait a
That's a
second.
good idea.
Let's decide on that. What would be the
That's so
what would be the
20th
most fun
It
venue
is
for
too
this?
20th century.
Kaz, what would be the most
Make a
fun
list.
venue for this?
You know, to me, is a theater.
A theater, okay.
With the proscenium stage or
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference.
just
Could be a-
a big space say with seating on all sorts
Proscenium, a
of.
stage would be, you know, a real theater. Sounds
Not an
interesting to
aircraft
me.
carrier.
Yeah, not an aircraft carrier. Not a big room.
I like the idea of getting it installed in the long corridors at the airport. I don't care if it's only for the people who are boarding flights. Let them experience it.
The thing is,
While
you
they're
don't want to
running
do
for
that
the
now
next
because
flight.
it's been done so much over the country. You know what I mean? It's everywhere.
It's
Tucson,
okay. Beethoven's
everywhere.
Fifth has been done forever, everywhere.
Okay,
It's
so,
still a great piece of
so we'd
work.
like to do something.
A venue, okay, we got number one, what we need. Number two, what do we need?
Okay, what is each of
A
us?
director that understands science and art. If they're a director, they already automatically understand art.
Okay, what is that? Everybody I know.
Now, a director of the project may be different than the director of the theatrical production.
Yeah.
I think we have to be able to delegate. I think at some point we have to tell the director, said, okay, you do it.
We need writers.
Yeah.
With the,
Okay.
each group should have their own writer.
No, each group, you mean each of the.
Each nanoplay or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Well, what about the idea of using as many of the unfunded projects as part of our thing as we can?
Oh,
I know that we can't use all of them.
I have no problem with
I think that might be a good
that.
idea.
I mean, Patricia was trying to use the funded projects as well.
Yeah.
But the people who didn't get funding will want to be involved, assumably.
Well-
I don't think they will,
No?
no. I think they'll bow out.
The ones that didn't get funded, it depends on where their egos are at.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean.
If their
what's
project
the-
was the one that should have been funded.
That's right, our project should have been funded, and
Right.
these are a bunch of
I think
knuckleheads.
it's more than that, though. It's just, in other words, what they'll have to be reintroduced totally to the inspiration of the other projects. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you may be right on that.
Yeah.
On what?
On that, a lot of people are just gonna bail.
Yeah.
Because, they didn't.
Sounds like you've got one, Elisha, right?
Well, if we can get hold of Elijah on this thing. I know one of his group members bailed on it. Said, well, it's not gonna go, I'm not gonna go.
Right, right. That's a natural reaction.
But the two people most active in it were Elijah and Gerald. And I think they're ready to go into schools and do it.
Yeah.
I've talked to Elijah.
Do their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing they wanted to make a film of themselves doing this stuff, and, as well as teaching. And one of the things they liked about them is, and Ruth West particularly liked it.
We need a
Yeah,
good
classes.
person with video and film as
Film,
well.
yeah, a film
Okay.
person. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
For what? For a presentation?
Just
or
for
documentation?
documentation,
Yeah.
presentation.
Right,
we need somebody who's good
everybody.
with
You know what would
Somebody
be
that knows-
good is that guy who did our little nano concert.
Oh, yeah,
You know, what's his name? I've got his name and number.
okay.
Does he expect to get paid?
Yeah,
He's
he
very
would.
nice.
He's
Well,
a-
not- But not much.
But not much,
No.
yeah. Now, another thing is, at least it was true a couple of years ago, that Delmar has a community TV station. And for $150, they would teach you how to use their equipment and produce a TV program. Which is something that we might consider, at least as adjunct to this. But I agree, we need someone who can,
I have a guy too, a video guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay,
That's the easy part, you know.
okay.
I think, for me, the most important thing is that how we're going to make this a wonderful presentation and exciting and interesting to go to, that you can understand why to go to it, for what reason you should show up, as opposed to just look at it on YouTube or read it about on the internet. You know, why should you be there?
I agree.
And,
Yeah. Well, I think it'd be pretty easy to describe the difference between watching it on YouTube and being there and participating.
No, but I'm saying is, look, okay, we say that people, and I'm thinking about this all the time, okay, we say we've got, a new aesthetic matrix, which is, people are able to understand what they're seeing and experiencing in different contexts, in a different form, okay? I'm very, very thick-skinned, because I'm used to rock concerts and 50,000 people and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to say in my rock mode or, whatever, so what? Why should I go to this thing?
Don't.
Give me a reason.
Don't.
No, but I mean, if it's important, if it's
You've
interesting.
already kind of expressed you're not interested.
No, you don't understand that. I am interested. But I'm saying...
He's saying,
No,
how
no.
do we grab somebody like that?
You know,
We
it's- how do
told you what it's about. We told you why. It's because it gives you a better understanding of how art and science
So, but how do you
go
hook that?
together.
How do you make that
This
hook?
is, there you go, this is what I'm trying to say,
Well,
is how do you
yeah.
explain that? What,
But I
because
think,
what
you
are
know-
we doing to say, okay, this is cool, guys, let's go and let's go see it?
Yeah, I think you need some sort of hook.
Okay.
What's the reason, you know,
Alright.
and, you
Right
know,
off the bat, the word polyaesthetics is something a lot of people won't even understand.
I think it's
No.
cool.
It's,
No, I think it's
I like
cool.
it.
I like it too, but a lot of
okay,
people
but
won't
I'm-
understand what it
I'm
is.
a rather cerebral person, so.
yeah, but you gotta know what poly means. You gotta know what aesthetics means. And then you go, oh, that's, you know. it's
You know,
combination.
here, how
Well, you
about,
don't have to
how about,
exactly, you just have
okay,
to
I
be
have a
interested.
little, here's a little off-the-wall thing.
Okay.
We create this chick and call her Polyaesthetic.
Yeah,
There you go.
clone her.
No, really?
I need that or a parrot.
No, that's, you know, if that's what it takes to get a
Really?
book,
That's what
you
I'm
know.
talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
And the girls will go for it too, you know?
You know, here's what I
And we
think.
create this
You
person,
know,
you know?
Incubus did that. The group Incubus?
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
They have a song that's called Anomaly, but they spell it Anna Molly.
Right.
But all through the song, he keeps saying Anomaly, Anomaly, and it's about anomaly. But it's the title of it is Anna Molly.
I may be wrong on this, but here's how I
Because
think it would
People
work.
wouldn't know what
Maybe she's
anomaly
a
is.
person with two asses. Polyaesthetics. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Just
No,
anything to kind of.
but I can see the posters and stuff on this, like that we could imagine. I mean,
A
but,
double ass.
yeah.
You know what?
Uh,
I got an interesting idea here, maybe.
okay, can you express it in words of less than 5 or 6 syllables?
What if we take okay, listen to this a minute. What if we curate off the planet or the town some really important works, okay, that extant works from different artists and actors and musicians and things like that that are very well known.
Ah.
And we magnetize this into this event where we put
No, I think that's a great idea.
polyaesthetics as the framework for interpreting this stuff.
That
Well-
sounds like actually a good idea.
We talked about that already. We talked about that as being in the introduction to show people what we're trying to do.
No, but I'm saying
Use
is,
stuff that's
okay,
familiar.
like, you know, call up Leonard Cohen or whatever and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And
See if we can get them involved.
And
I'm
I'm sure he'll just drop everything for us.
we used to throw figs at him when we were kids.
Hallelujah.
No, but you know what I'm saying is, in other words, pull together a motive for the audience to show up.
That's Polly.
And then
Everybody wants to see Polly.
Only double ass.
it's not a bad idea. I mean, we could do it. I don't know with what force majeure we could pull it off in we got a year. I mean, for God's sakes, you know.
Yeah, but time goes fast, especially
And
when you get
then
this
the other
old.
thing is too, you know, great people are booked, you know, but it would take a one-on-one talking to these people about, you know, the importance of the idea and participation and all that jazz. And
Great people can be expensive.
no, I had Tugboat Interdisciplinary Magazine, where you had everybody from Bernowski to Salk to Parch in there and everything.
Oh, I should have that actually.
Did
Still
you?
have back issues? I remember seeing just 1 or 2.
Did you?
Yeah, going back, 40 years ago.
And it was easy, except it started becoming, you know, publishing crap from famous people that they couldn't publish anywhere else.
Of course, that was before they were famous.
No, this is when they were famous.
Yeah.
They couldn't publish certain things. Anyway, that's one idea, you know, where we would have an audiential draw without having to, what do you call it?
Well,
See, the thing is, the other thing is-
Did you come up with a list of plausible people?
Right, well, they would have to understand why they were being
Yeah.
judged in this aesthetic system.
Yeah.
And there's what benefit they would be contributing to humanity by performing.
No, there's a distinction. They wouldn't be judged, their work would be judged.
Scratch a collector,
difference
you
there.
get a dealer. Come on,
Yeah.
scratch an artist and you get an ego.
Yeah.
No, they'll feel that way. You know, if you ask Madonna to show up, she'll go, why?
But we're not judging. See, that's the thing about
We're evaluating,
polyaesthetic mapping is not about value judgment, it's about categorization, which is totally different than value
Putting things
judgment.
in boxes, exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know if people are gonna get
No,
that.
they're not.
That's a very, very fine line.
You know what, one of our introductory
That's
skits.
very important that they do get that.
I
One
know,
of our
but
introductory
I'm saying
skits should
there's
be
not
about
an
a
easy-
box.
What's that?
One of our introductory skits should be about a box. We're gonna put something in this box. And
Right.
This box goes here,
Yeah,
and it goes
box
here
is the auditorium.
because, right.
This box is the auditorium.
But, I mean, one of our skits ought to be about putting something in
yeah,
a box.
at the very beginning,
And
because
putting
we,
that box in a certain place.
Write it and write the incidental music for the lyrics or whatever. No,
Uh-huh.
seriously, that's what I did.
I like that idea, because we need to show people,
Right, not just
because
talk
they're
to them
not
and tell them,
gonna
they
get
need
the
to.
concept
Yeah.
unless we show it over and over
Right.
again from different points of
Yeah.
view.
Yeah.
And that's our job, is to show this in so many different ways that finally, at the end of the thing, they say, oh, I get it. This is what they're doing. And that's all we care about, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they get it at the end, they'll come back the next day and do it again.
No, but then they can tell somebody else.
Right.
And,
Well, that's what I mean, they'll
Yeah.
come back the next day with somebody else.
mhm.
Because that's what we want repeat customers.
Yeah, I think we should do this maybe in different venues, in order to just,
Okay, but let's get one down first. You know, I mean, I think, okay, I agree that we want to do it on the stage. Now, on the stage, all right, you're gonna have the,
You're right, though, we should do it in lots of different venues. I'm thinking of even the Cafe Chez on the campus.
Yeah, but I'm with John on it. We need to figure one out first.
Yeah, well,
okay, we need to
Socialism.
figure out how it works in proscenium.
Yes.
okay. Well, one thing is you could have the,
How does it work in the
for
round?
the backdrop of it would be the polyaesthetic grids
Mm-hmm.
mapping. Unless you want them on the sides of the auditorium.
I'm wanting to turn the whole auditorium space into it.
So,
Well,
With
above a certain point.
yeah, yeah,
all I'm talking about is just an axis.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Just an axis of helium balloons.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. I can laser shoot
Yeah,
those
yeah.
babies in.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
you got a straight line this way, a straight line this way, and then a row. The hardest part's going to be to get a row of balloons that goes straight up.
Yeah.
Okay, I got an idea. You ready? This thing is easily formed into a modular system that you could put on any event. Like you could take it to Lollapalooza, you could take it to Burning Man.
Well, that's what we were just talking about.
Okay, and what we could do
Different venues.
is, in other words, take this as mistletoe on the tree, you know, basically, and,
That's a little bit too vague.
But I like the idea of doing it at Burning Man. That would be interesting.
you know,
That would be a stir fry.
the other thing I wanted to tell you is I think, I'm thinking why you don't understand me, and I'll give you one little hint.
I don't feel like
Okay.
I don't understand you.
No, I mean, or where I don't understand this is that I really respect people's intelligences, I really do. And in the spirit of Buddhism, okay, which I think you'll understand, is that this Jewish accountant in LA
Since
came
I'm a
to me.
Buddhist, yeah.
Yeah. This Jewish accountant came to me in LA and he says, "Do you believe in God?" And I said, "If you do, I don't." And if you don't, I do. So you probably understand now where I'm coming from.
No, you know, I've got that all along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You know, but you
It's
don't
southern-
you
southern
don't get
city.
very far when you take one step forward and two back.
Well, it depends on which direction you're going.
That's right.
Not only that,
If you're being a fast,
That's the most intelligent thing I've heard you say all night.
if you're being a fast retreat, yes. Okay.
So,
not only
anyway.
that, but an argument is not just the automatic gainsaying of no, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't.
See, I don't believe in argumentation, though. I don't think it's, I think it's
Augmentation.
augmentation. Anyway, the idea is if we, and I'm thinking Lebanese here again, is if we made this into a cool system where you could lop it on to all sorts of events, it could make a lot of money.
That's a good consideration.
It could
It'd
be
nice
part
if
of
we
the
could make a lot
show.
of money at it.
It could be part of the show. where
Forget
you-
the stir fry, let's do baba ganoush.
Meaning?
You know, the
You know
Middle
Baba
Eastern
ganoush.
thing.
No, but I mean, if we made this into a, if we choreographed it well, so that it was a cool thing to put on things that the audiences would really enjoy and be, you know, it would be insightful at the same time, and it wouldn't insult the performers and the artists by bagging them into, you know, different categories. But like you said, we had an exclusion clause where this is not judgmental. You know, don't take it wrong, guys. You know, it's
Well, but the
Well, I
thing
think
is,
the obvious is not judgmental.
It's not.
It's
The thing is that at the end of it,
mental, but
it's
it's not,
judgmental, but
it's not about value, it's about
yeah, but
category.
explain that to a performer.
yeah, but it also
Oh, I
doesn't
don't
put
think
anybody in
so.
a particular place because the
Yes, it
whole
does.
audience, no it doesn't, because
But
the
a lot
whole
of
audience
people will
gets
have
to
a
vote
totally
on it and
different
everybody's,
idea
exactly, everybody's
about
gonna have a
which
different
category.
category.
Once we has the
Fine.
grid in the
Then
auditorium.
that's where, that's because
That's
people
portable.
have
I
different
think
value
it's
systems.
Of any kind of performance. You could be done, you know, you could actually have people evaluating scenes of a play.
So
But I think that
It is a-
if we do it on
it
the
is
stage,
also about value
What-
systems.
then all the,
Because you can't,
have-
It's about value and,
and they can be.
but it's not about
far
aesthetic
if you want.
value.
You can have a lot of fun with those.
It's
They don't have
about
to be.
the
It's
value
just it's a
of
matter
the
of
core,
staging.
of
Yeah.
the ideas in the
There's
system.
There's two things there. There's
How
the
much, how
staging
important
of the
is
events.
the aesthetics
And
of
there's
direct experience as opposed to
matrix
how
and
important is the
evaluation.
aesthetics of
Sure,
thinking?
right. They have
Well,
to come
evaluation
to-
may not the right word, but I
This,
think about it.
the child,
And that's
Yeah.
portable.
what's
People
more
have been
important
healing
about the
balloons
child?
On
The mother,
lines.
the aesthetics of direct experience, or the father, the aesthetics of thinking?
thinking.
What's more important about the child? And
I would
how
say
important is it?
they're equally important.
They're right in it, then the child is right in the middle,
Right,
okay?
right there.
That's why I
Right.
think they'll necessarily have to be in the corners.
But that's why,
Well-
I brought this up because I
Probably should be, so
thought,
people have an idea what this
As long as what we when we explain it up front, we have to talk about the corners.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Then, you know, we can map anything.
See,
after
the
that.
important thing
Yeah,
is
people have
that
to
you
know what
always
the
say,
corners mean.
Yeah.
the important thing is it's not what you say, it's how you make people feel. You know, and so that, you know,
that's
how-
pretty true, actually.
Well, that's how they're gonna be basing their judgments, is on how
But
they
that- that's
feel
what's going to
and what they
happen.
think, too.
But in other words, okay, if you can separate us from they, you know what I mean? In other words, we're not the arbitrators of, you know, in other words, we
Well-
should be hosting a great experience for people here.
I mean, everybody in the audience is gonna
And,
get a chance to say where they think this thing belongs in the space.
But so what's that gonna do for them? It's got to have a sense of,
First of all,
insight.
there's a big community aspect to it, because it'll show them where their
Solidarity.
opinion fits with everyone else's.
you know, like a mosh pit?
I don't know if I would say it that way. No, not exactly.
What I say.
No, I mean, their vote is gonna be pinpointed somewhere, but so is everyone else's. So if they know where theirs is supposed to be, if they can see it and say like, oh, there's my vote, and they can see where everybody else's is, and they can,
Sounds like internet map,
something like that.
or Google Intel,
Yeah.
you know. But then there has to be some kind of fun in that for the audience to say, okay, this cluster is up here, this cluster is over there, this one's down here, this one's on a corner. What does it all mean? In terms of a reward in the, you know, context of the show.
I could imagine after the performance is over, people,
Would argue about
They
it?
argue about
well,
it.
not only argue about it, but people might say, hey, I wanna find out who's right there next to me, because they think the same way about this as me.
The
Or who's
problem-
over there, why did they think it was like that, you
Yeah.
know?
The problem that you have, Arthur, is that this whole thing is really, this aspect of it is science. And you're really not a guy that likes science. I mean, you do on a periphery, but you don't like doing science.
Yeah.
You like doing art. You know,
Why
and
do you
this,
say
and this
that?
is, Why do you say because of the way you talk?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we're both into
You're all
science.
talking about feeling, not about thinking.
Yeah.
And the
I would separate
rewards
the two.
are always
That's
emotional.
it right there.
Yeah.
You don't separate the two.
No,
Whereas,
no.
you know,
Right.
I mean, thinking,
And I don't
is,
think you can.
thinking is its own reward.
But our polyaesthetic,
No, because
That's
thing
why
that Kaz created.
you'll never
the
understand.
thing that Kaz
The
created
motive.
clearly separates the two.
You'll never understand the motive of this because you don't see any difference between feeling and thinking.
because I go to belief, and I think about what is belief is generating, okay? And when I think about what beliefs have generated this system, okay, I don't know if you have.
Certainly.
You have, okay, what beliefs of yours have generated this
That there's a difference between science and art.
system? Okay, and
that's
why
the-
do you have
And
that
there's a
belief?
difference between thinking
Hold
and
on, hold on,
feeling.
hold on.
Because I experience them differently.
And why do you do that? Where does that belief come from?
It comes from my experience.
Yes, and where does that experience in that, where was that belief originated?
It originates in the experience. That,
Okay,
right there.
That's a great big stop.
That was a moment in time.
Mm-hmm,
That was an experience.
mm-hmm.
That's where it comes from.
And what was that experience?
A moment in time.
No, when?
You know, that particular experience was me clapping my hands.
No, I mean, when was the origination of that belief for
15 seconds ago.
No, originally in your lifetime.
When did you come up with the idea?
Yeah.
That's what
This
it
is
Come up with
being
the idea
written
of
by
what?
John Paul Sartre.
The whole polyaesthetic.
The polyaesthetic concept is a culmination of 12 years of trying to figure out the difference between art and science.
Okay.
Go ahead, take
And,
it.
and that came
Oh, here,
about.
John.
This is fine.
I'll have some of that.
That's fine.
It's, go ahead, I'm listening, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and there's where
Well, I
in
guess
your
I'll finish it.
lifetime, in your
Or just gonna
childhood
have
or
white.
whatever, did you decide that, you know, that,
A little.
never mind, this
The-
is going
the-
too deep here. You know, we'll do this in a later discussion.
I would love to sit around.
And I
That's my new
understand, you
favorite
know,
bit.
believe me. it's-
Yeah.
it's the only thing is I don't like to be accused of not liking science. You know, that doesn't make me feel very
No,
good.
no, it's not. I'm not saying that you don't like
Because I
science.
love
I didn't.
science.
I didn't say that.
Didn't say
I said you don't do
You
science
don't do science.
How do you
right.
know?
because of the way you talk.
Well,
You know,
okay.
you don't. But you keep saying there. You don't see a difference between them. Then you say you don't see a difference between thinking and feeling. These are clues, flags that a couple of guys that are into science look at you and say, he's not getting, he's not doing science anyway. You know.
And not only that, but the difference between thinking and feeling is one of the axes in our three-dimensional polyaesthetic mapping.
I see a problem here because
Where is that?
is
I know.
philosophy have anything to do with science?
Yes.
It
Okay.
used to. Doesn't
So
anymore.
I think that Arthur is coming from a philosophically scientific idea. He's talking about philosophical concepts.
Right. Right.
And so I think that that's one reason that he doesn't like the idea that you don't think of it, because he's coming, I think, my projection is that he's coming from this philosophical point of
Well,
view,
sure.
which is
We all are.
which is has a scientific basis.
Here's in Hawkins' last book, okay, he was this, for us it was charming, okay, he was talking about the fish in the fishbowl, okay, looking at, dimensional reading of exterior reality, and a scientist looking at his dimensional reality, and was realizing in this childish fashion, okay, that you could do the same, you could still get a rocket to Mars. Whatever your dimensional perception was, whether you were in a fishbowl or whatever, your calculations would be completely different, but they would still be according to the calculations that you were in. Okay, and it was really fun for him as a scientist to see that. They were discovering postmodernism for the first time, that you can see many things from many different perspectives. And
Are you understanding?
Yeah.
if you know this book,
Yeah.
okay, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, he wrote it with this friend of his,
Yeah.
the physicist.
Yeah, what is really exciting is that, that there's many different formulations of physical laws. You can look at the universe,
Yeah.
and if you really want to be perverse, you could use Ptolemy's model.
Sure.
And
You
Well,
ask,
not
you,
necessarily.
you ask nature questions, and it gives you an answer according to that question.
right, and you could actually probably work out a system of dynamics according to Ptolemy's
It's
laws.
totally functional.
Sure.
That, might be extraordinarily complicated. You'd have to have a lot of ad hoc things, mysterious forces, and, ways of punching through the crystalline things. But you could probably get to the moon and Mars.
And many people do.
It's a lot easier
Yeah.
Okay.
and a lot, I would say, more beautiful. You use heliocentric Newtonian mechanics to get to Mars. And in that sense, I think heliocentric Newtonian mechanics is truer.
More
And it's-
beautiful.
and it's more beautiful.
Right, yeah. Okay,
And-
there, now you're an
More
artist.
elegant.
It's more elegant, yeah.
Now you're an artist.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's,
no,
that's exactly
no,
what he was
you're
talking
not.
about with mathematics.
No, you're not an artist. That's not what.
Well, I think if I
That,
were...
it is aesthetic,
But to have discovered that,
but
that difference
Yeah.
between, I think, would give me a great deal of pleasure.
that's
In that sense,
the
I would say
aesthetics of
that's
thinking.
Yes, that's the
Right.
types of thinking, which I feel very strongly. I'm probably much
That's
more in that
because you're a
direction
scientist.
Right.
than I am as an artist, although I enjoy art. And I feel differently about art as I do about science. My aesthetic reaction to art is very different from my aesthetic reaction to science.
See, in art, unbeknownst to many,
Uh,
the public, there's a tremendous amount of conceptualization that goes into it.
yeah.
In real art.
Yeah,
Okay?
I agree. I agree.
And-
Design.
And a lot of it also, the public mistakes for it being scientific. Very formulaic in the continental sense is what I'm saying.
Well, which
What the public mistakes about artists a lot of times is they think they come from feeling into manifestation. A lot of artists work in terms of macro conceptualization down to materials, and not from materials and feeling to conceptualizations.
Okay.
And that process is very similar to the scientific process, where you're considering many multiple ideas in very technical ways.
You collect data.
Well, and you interlace concepts and you evaluate concepts and you look at them from an extremely intellectual basis that is not recognized by the public a lot, because there's this stereotype that artists are just emotional, or that they're just people are just functioning by intuition and instinct and stuff like that.
I think this is the place where I get to mention Mahler.
Or Schoenberg.
Schoenberg,
I mean,
yeah, well, he was
Talk about
turned out.
stereotype.
Or Pollock.
But Mahler appeals to people today because of the direct, visceral, emotional impact of his music, usually. But every year there are more and more books written about him because his music is so deep and on intellectual level. It goes so far that there's always more to explore. Even if you've studied it your whole life, there's always something else.
See, there's something we call the continental approach in art, which is
I had to bring them up. So.
well, you love. We're going to dress him up like
every,
Mahler in the
every
show.
video has to have one mention of Mahler.
So what was it, go on, every
Well, I'm
video.
thinking of people like Camus. Okay, you can't separate Camus from his relationship to existentialism and Sartre and Rudel's thinking that is burned down his writings from a highly intellectual process. You know, there's a lot
I
of
disagree
artists.
with that.
Well,
I
you
disagree
probably
with
will.
that. If you don't know anything about existentialism and you read his book and you like it just because
No,
it's a
but I'm
good
saying
read.
I'm talking about in the artistic process of writing. Okay,
Okay.
you know what I mean. And there's a
You're talking about from his perspective.
the creative process.
Right, okay.
Okay, was from head down, not heart up. It was
The
from head.
creative process
Yeah, and it's from head to heart, not heart to head.
depends on what you're creating.
We're talking
Well,
about
he's talking
Sartre,
about
right?
Camus.
Camus.
I'm saying that the public,
Camus is a writer.
the public has this stereotype about artists. In other words, that,
Existentialist writer.
that it's all
Okay, he's a writer,
yeah.
a philosophical writer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the right person to be comparing to what we're doing.
Well, yeah, well, the reason
We're
I'm
talking
bringing
about
this.
art. You know, I think of art, I tend to think of graphic art.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, as I said, I can see reading a book by Camus as just an enjoyable literary experience, an artistic
I
experience.
read it in French class as a
Yeah, well, so did I. but-
student. Actually, I did enjoy it because it's fairly straightforward.
Well, yeah.
I'd like to just address this point one more time.
Yeah.
Of here's philosophy over here, and here's art and science. And I think that there's a relationship between these that we have to somehow understand. I don't know how much voice we give to that, but there's philosophy seems to be what's going on here a lot, as far as you say, well, is it this, is it that? Well, depending upon some philosophical point of view, the numbers might come up quite different.
The thing is, if you're going to foray into aesthetics, you're going to get into the jungle of philosophy.
Oh, I would agree with that.
That's gonna happen. There's-
Aesthetics is philosophy.
There's
It's a branch
tigers.
of philosophy.
There's
Right.
panthers in there's cheetahs and lions.
Well, so we
Dragons.
need to address it head
It
on.
would be interesting to
The
get a
philosophical
get a
question needs to
neurobiologist.
be addressed head on.
Right.
You know what?
Right.
Get a neurobiologist to deal on aesthetics.
Hmm.
But
I mean, I know nothing about it, so you know, not that I don't
That
know.
would be. I agree with you.
About a guy about memory training and about how he was covering it. He said, "This is the dullest thing I've ever seen." But I got talking to some of the people, and I tried doing it. I came back the next year and I won the competition. But he had people there who could take, like 30 shuffled decks of cards, and in 30 minutes memorize them,
Wow.
or could memorize 4,000 binary digits. And they said the techniques have been done for thousands of years. It's basically it's called the magic castle,
Uh-huh.
memory castle. That is, you put things in certain areas and you associate something memorable with each
It's all about
aspect.
association.
And he said the way you give a talk is the way I give this talk is I just associated
Uh-huh.
each of the topics in order with locations where these bizarre things take place.
And you know what?
That's really cool.
On the topic of synesthesia, that's exactly how that works too, because I saw a thing about a guy who could solve these incredible math problems in his head because the numbers are all, I think they're colors, or I don't remember exactly what colors or shapes or something. And when he hears the numbers, he puts them together with the shapes that they are, and the
Yeah.
resulting shape gives him the answer like that. I mean, he's as fast as a computer.
Well, that's why I kind of, I like this idea because I think it really works with what you're doing as far as mapping, mapping plus, and it also just happens to totally coincide with
Yeah.
Tonescape. Of
Tonescape uses tiny Minkowski reduction
yeah.
to make the lattices.
So anyway, are
If
you
you wanted
interested?
to. Doesn't
You need
that's
it?
non-Euclidean.
Well, it's one type of non-Euclidean geometry. It's where you have a discrete lattice. So, your shortest distance, say between this point and
Instead of
this
a
point,
squared plus b
is
squared.
This is the shortest distance. You can't go through there. You have to
Right.
go through lattice points.
I see.
To that extent, it's non-Euclidean.
Okay.
There's two other non-Euclidean. Well, actually, there's a lot of maybe infinite number of non-Euclidean, but the two important ones are the elliptical and the hyperbolic.
But I think
No,
I think
those
people
modern-
can
Our system isn't non-Euclidean, it's Euclidean.
Well, but it has
I think it's this.
It has that matrix.
It has
It has a matrix,
Yeah.
but the matrix is only
It is the
identifiers.
Yeah.
It's continuous space.
It's continuous
It's
space.
continuous Cartesian space.
Right.
Yeah, Euclidean space, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, that's just the concept.
Well,
All right.
But
I just thought people could understand.
wait a minute.
better.
Wait, actually.
This is much more difficult to understand.
No, wait a minute. Actually, I'm thinking about what Tonescape does now. You can create a two-dimensional taxicab lattice like that.
yeah, or three-dimensional or.
Well, if you make a two-dimensional one, you can use the third dimension to warp it into the helix or the torus, and then you've got a whole different ball of wax.
Oh well.
Well,
You know?
then
Now you're really far fetched as far as.
Well,
no, once you do that, you actually end up with a elliptical space.
is that what it is?
You know.
Yeah.
If it's a discrete, but it's a discrete one.
Paul Ehrlich had these arguments with me that it doesn't matter how you lattice a mean tone around the helix because it always means the same helix all the time. But I said, well, yes, but
It looks different.
it spirals around the
Yeah.
helix a different way
Yeah, there's
depending
various,
on what mean tone.
yeah, there's
it is.
various ways of,
Yeah.
presenting it, yeah. Yeah.
So in the one sense, it does always refer to the same helix.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the just intonation pitches that it's supposed to represent.
I don't
but-
understand this obsession with mean tone, because all it does is sound like your thirds a little bit flat, your fifths are flat. I mean, you know, for Baroque music, yes, mean tone sounds very good on a Baroque organ
Yeah.
or on a harpsichord, but you know,
Yeah, but from a historical point of view, it's really important because our
Yeah.
whole
Yes.
standard music theory is based
Well, our
on mean tone.
notation's based on it too.
No, not really. Our
It's
notation is based on
Pythagorean?
Pythagorean.
Okay.
But it just so happens that mean tone
Yeah,
fits
yeah,
the
yeah,
Pythagorean
yeah,
scheme to a degree.
To a degree.
I have an ending point
Shoot.
of
We can talk
devotion.
about that more.
Of what?
Of devotion.
Of devotion.
Lattice spray.
Let us leave.
You got out of my mouth,
A little
exactly.
deep.
Well, gentlemen, it's been fun, I must say.
It always is.
I don't know what we've accomplished, but it's been aesthetically meaningful.
Let's all be in touch and
I can't wait to see this tape.
that's okay.
What, this one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is this gonna be posted too?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, we're documenting everything.
You know, this
We're the only
may,
group that's doing this.
this may be our
Are
whole
we?
project.
Yeah,
Yeah, this might,
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
You know that
Well,
crossed my mind.
I just simple thought, yes.
Just make this the project.
So my dinner's all gray or something.
I have a feeling if
It's
this
five
really
guys
comes
talking
off great,
past each other.
Exactly.
we'll go back to all the things
2 hours
edited, I mean, just pull
every
out
week.
the meat,
Yeah.
you know, and toss the
Yeah, I thought about
stuff,
that's
that.
the time.
yeah,
Somebody have a
and put together a cool documentary of the
because
process.
we
Make
do
the whole
get
thing
quite
metaphor.
bogged down
It's
in
good. It's fun.
technicalities,
Yeah.
but that's
In
because
the
we're,
stir fry.
yeah, and just,
I still need to download the ones you took of hand because I think that was the best breakdown I ever gave
they're on the board.
of the tuning.
Are they? They're on Vimeo, right?
Me.
Yeah.
No. Lindsay?
Oh yeah, you're waiting for me. Okay.
It's okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go to,
Next Monday?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll think some and I'll talk to you too a little
I
bit.
think Patricia might be coming next Monday.
Oh,
Is she?
great.
Okay.
okay.
And I'm gone from, May the 31st, which is, I actually am planning on going to
Oh,
the,
good, yeah, okay.
presentation, and then we're leaving actually
The next
from
day.
there for a couple of weeks.
Wait a second, next Monday might not be good.
Okay.
Next Monday, I think is Buddha's birthday, and I'll be booked up.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Next Monday, the 28th?
Well, we can bump it
No,
out to your schedule.
no.
Tuesday.
next Monday is the
I'm not
21st.
acting right now, so.
21st. Okay, next Monday I'm okay then.
All right.
It's the 28th, I think.
Okay, next Monday is good.
It is,
The
okay.
following Monday is not good.
Okay.
And you think, that let's get Patricia here too, but if we want.
She said that she wanted to come, so.
She did?
Or we could
Okay.
go to Patricia's.
Where's her place?
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yeah. It was easy for me, but,
You
Nobody
have a
else.
line of sight to go,
Uh-huh.
don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you'll have to ask her.
I think she loves entertainment.
Is that one, was it?
Oh, okay, well, I have a Bernowski Art and Science Forum on the 21st. I got, it's the 23rd is when I have, I got a sound check though on the 21st.
About
That's 3.
Tuesday.
I'll be all right.
All right. Just realize that you don't really have to eat, because I got plenty of food here.
Oh, yeah, my wife's birthday is the 20th.
So, let me look, 'cause I've got a couple of things that week. I've got to do.
Okay, well,
I think
Yeah.
I'm.
The E is a little bit flat.
Let's see, that
You know that high E?
There's something there, this is an arch. I've decided to look at this thing.
I haven't looked at it,
Something about doctors and.
I work the my, if
I
my
enjoyed the last,
kids,
I enjoyed the last.
they're always really,
I
they're
might
always
go
good.
anyway, but Chris
Ready?
Finley goes,
All right,
always
John.
good.
All right,
Thanks for
guys.
Oh.
Thank you for this.
Great.
Yeah,
Fine
you're
snacks.
welcome. Polysnackulation.
Yeah.
Poly snack
So where's
order.
this going?
Whomever wants to borrow it.
Well, you know I want to.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
Consider it borrowed. I got it.
yeah.
all right.
Looks good.
Very
There's a
good.
couple
All right,
little
see
notes
ya.
in here. Do you need those?
Oh,
Well, it's always
Girlfriend's phone
entertaining.
numbers.
Yeah, I tell you, yeah.
All right.
I don't know if they're changed to the book or if they're just something else.
Where's your shoes?
anyway, it's been real, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, real on. Well, Jonathan, thank you for hosting this again.
Yes, John, see you next,
It was
next
fun.
Monday or
Nice to
something.
see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next month, so we're doing it next Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah.
Do you want me to stop by tomorrow? Because I don't have to actually
Tuesday's
work
probably
until
better
late.
for me.
Yeah,
but
I'm not,
I don't have
well,
I don't think I'm doing anything
Let's
tomorrow.
throw it up on the board.
Come back
Tuesday's
early,
okay for
because I don't have
me.
any afternoon lessons.
Well,
I'll call
I
you
don't know,
tomorrow.
I don't know if
Okay.
you can get back to me, you see, I've got some guys that coming down from JPL to take some of our equipment.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what their schedule is.
I don't have, that's something that
Well,
we're
there's a
pursuing.
lot of
Try to find some- a
pseudoscience
neurobiologist
about
who'd be interested.
in neuroscience about aesthetics, and we know that in music. For example,
Oh, sure.
you know that the hairs inside your ear, particularly resonating certain kinds of frequencies that are good and bad, or you know, wonderful or
What is
harmful
beautiful
or-
music? There you go.
Yeah, right.
Depends on your cilia.
Yeah, and you
So
know,
what
they-
that you have a use for?
so what's the difference between Greek and you know, Senegal and the cilia? Anyway, guys, what we need to do is pull this together and what's our next step here?
Well, next step is to present it the 31st.
Well, okay.
of May.
The
Here's-
31st, okay.
Let me just
We
do a
gotta do
little
that?
Recap.
Yeah,
recap. What do we need?
a videographer.
So I'm just going down the list.
The
A venue,
Yeah,
theater.
yeah,
Maybe,
Number two,
Yeah.
director,
yeah.
one that has
science.
science and art, and maybe there's an overall director, and maybe there's a director of the theatrical thing. Who knows? You
There
know,
may or may not be two different people.
Yeah.
we need writers.
Or presenters. They don't have to necessarily be plays, but they could be
Okay.
other things.
I see the plays being pretty easy. I mean, if you got artists involved or scientists involved, they're all passionate about something.
They gotta be
And then,
good though.
and then
They've
you
gotta be
can,
good.
well,
I mean, they have
Sure.
to be top of the line.
yeah, well, let's hope
We're
so.
going to use Arthur's flat, peck.
That's top of the line. right there.
That was just for Kaz, come on, he's dressed in black.
I think
you know?
we should use it. I say we use it as well.
We already have. It's recorded. It's
Right.
on the internet
Uh-oh,
for the world
Carve it
to
in
see.
stone.
Okay, number four,
yeah.
video, film person. Maybe Arthur's babysitter's husband,
Oh, yeah.
or I have a guy named Sean Ward. Number five, polyaesthetics.
The hot babe with the double ass.
Okay,
Right.
but here's what we gotta do.
Or a giant
What do we
bird.
have to say on the 31st? What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, what exactly is?
Present
But we're
that?
not gonna do anything on the 30th. We don't have to do
We
anything.
don't have to do
I
it.
thought we had to.
Well, I think,
try to recruit other people by saying what a wonderful place.
yes, and
And you're doing that.
That was me.
And so
Yeah, I gotta do
Patricia's
something.
just gonna say something?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the idea?
I mean,
Well-
I think we should all go to this meeting. I'm hoping that other people do too, even those who weren't funded. I mean, we're kind of unique because we put in 3 different things, so we're all together on this thing, you know. And I was on 4 of the 9.
Well, I think that
I'm on the
the,
administrators now.
the missing link
She
here,
says really has no obligation. but-
Missing link.
the missing link in all of this is that we need to decide, you know, how this thing is dynamically gonna be presented to a live audience in a live
I think
situation.
we've pretty much done that. We're having a series of tableaus. We've got this thing, this matrix,
No, but we haven't figured out that
Voting on it. We haven't figured out
communication
the-
to the audience is
Well,
what
we
we're gonna
haven't-
say.
Well, we've already even discussed that, about introductory talk about it, brief one, a handout, and maybe a demonstration of one or two things at the corners, which then they evaluate. And then we start doing things that are more.
I'll come
ambiguous.
up with a monologue to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah, I think so.
I
I think
think
we've
I
pretty
mean,
much done that.
My,
Uh,
guys,
weeks
my,
ago.
my contribution here is I think we've got to be stronger than that.
Stronger than a monologue.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I mean, it has to
That's
be
when
self-explanatory.
Polly comes in and does her dance.
No, you don't understand. It's got to be explained ahead of time.
I'm not so
In-
sure.
Yes, it does. How are you gonna get an audience?
Well, two things. They're gonna
Why are
have-
they gonna show up?
You're gonna send
First-
Polly out into the audience, I know,
No, I
They're
think
gonna be sitting there already anyway,
there's two
right?
things
For
that, I think there's two things that will attract them. One
What?
is the variety of tableaus are actually produced.
Okay, and what's the audience, I mean, what's the
You know,
umbrella, why are they gonna go to this thing?
because they're interesting, they look interesting.
In what? All the stuff?
Yeah. And secondly, the chance of evaluating them.
Okay, then they're gonna be hit by this,
So there's
I have to
two
do.
things.
What are they gonna,
Well, you know,
what's the
not
motive
everybody,
then?
not everybody's gonna wanna go to this anyway. I mean, I don't think we need to try to get, the exact.
We're not trying to start
statistical
beating
My,
Right.
friend, my friends in Lakeside would not be interested in
Right.
coming to this.
Why not? Why don't we get them there?
Well, there's
If
too
you-
many people.
Well, that's
If
worth,
you can
that's
hit 'em-
worth considering though.
If you could hit it on that many levels, that'd
But
be
why
great.
not?
Yeah.
Let's think about it.
I'm not saying no.
Well,
Basically,
yes,
he's trying to
but-
say, if we can create Beatlemania around this thing, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe he's right,
I mean-
you know, so.
Oh, I-
First
I don't
place
have
is
a
how
problem
many
with it.
people are interested in science in this country? Really very interested in it. And I think it's very low. I mean, we have one of the lowest levels of scientific literacy in the world.
Did we do in the States?
Among,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then think about the other end of it.
Is that
How many
the
people are
21st
really
century?
interested in
And that's not even talking about people who might be,
I-
might
Not many.
might or might not be interested in aesthetics,
Yeah.
which is it's pretty
That's
removed.
Philosophy.
I know, but it's pretty removed from people's everyday.
Right. How many
thing
people are
that
interested in
they're-
science? How many people are interested in philosophy? And how many people are interested in art?
You know, they all
So I
are.
think we're looking at the bottom of the funnel here.
You guys, quit dissing us. I mean, we can bring this up to a decent level.
You're probably right, though.
No,
That's
I'm
worth
not.
thinking about.
But
That's
Arthur,
worth-
before we leave, you must explain the mistletoe on the tree.
Okay.
Without demonstrating.
Well, I don't care how he demonstrates.
It's
you
an
want him to
old
give you a
Persian
kiss?
metaphor.
Oh, yes.
All right, it's a
It's
what?
an ancient
Missile?
Persian metaphor.
Okay.
Toe?
Is that the highest form of intellect and knowledge and intelligence exists upon other things than itself.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Like
right.
the mistletoe has to be attracted to a tree to grow on. It can't grow by itself. It's always on.
It's a parasite.
Yeah, it's a
Parasite.
Well, that's one way to put it, or it's a symbiosis, or whatever. You know how
It's a
you.
parasite.
Parasite.
Okay. If you say
It doesn't give the tree anything
No, it just sucks life out of it. Plus it's poisonous.
Yeah.
unless you consider death something.
Yeah. Well, remember, you're going to spend much more time dead than alive. So you might as well look forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well, we don't know
I'm from
that for
Oklahoma,
sure.
where
I mean, it's
mistletoe
possible.
is the state flower.
Really?
Can you believe
And then
that?
you spent 13.7 billion years dead before you were born.
No. As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as I know. As far as we're likely to know.
But none of us really knows what happens.
No, but you don't
Until
ever
we
know
get
because you don't remember it.
Right.
You know. Remember the Buddha, I think, had to remember your past lives.
But if the universe has all these other dimensions, maybe we're already living in those other ones at other times, and we just
Oh,
don't
well, I mean,
remember.
sure, I mean,
I have a phone here.
grand inflation, predicts that. There's 4 or 5 guys sitting around the table someplace else who actually have come to a conclusion tonight. In fact, I did for a number of them, just not in this universe.
Right.
That's the problem. So,
Well, I should probably rock and roll. Got a show to put on,
Oh,
Okay.
well,
or to work on.
So what are our tasks?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think let's all have a think and then get together on pulling this thing to, you know, a reasonable form of actualization.
okay, well,
Okay.
let's stay in touch with Kaz then, because he has to present it on the 31st.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Something.
Well, as far as the venue goes, my thoughts on that are, yes, conventional theater might be good.
Good.
Also, maybe non-conventional theater may be good circumstance.
Well, we have to make a decision between one or the other, and we have to get, so let's make a decision.
Well, that depends on the there's one question that's not answered in my mind yet.
Okay.
Okay, and that is that, granted, we could do this in an academic setting where we wouldn't have to explain anything, or we could do a, what do you call it? Just a preamble and prelude to what the idea is, and then present these things. And it could stay in a small venue. If we want to do that, that's cool. Okay. If we want to do it in a larger spectrum, like for the guys, you know, in Lakeside as well as everybody else, we have to
You got
sort
to
of.
book Qualcomm.
No, we do. Yeah. No, you know what I mean. We have to have it in a layout that's enthusiastically participatory. Okay, we got to do that, or else it's just, you know, artistic and scientific suicide.
I have like a first step for Kaz, actually.
Mhm.
Pretend that you've been invited to TED Talks,
Yeah.
and that you're giving this on TED Talks, and you're preaching to the choir, basically, and you've got your setup on stage, and just
No, I actually have to do that.
yeah,
I have to come up with a presentation just like that.
just like that.
Yes. And,
Right.
and that's something that's, you know, it's
I'm sure that
in the back of my mind.
right, yeah. But I mean, anyway, I just kind of wanted to direct.
Well,
It's funny, I've had two people tell me when I explain this to them, that should be on
TED
TED.
Talks, yeah.
Well, maybe we should look into that.
well, they have had San Diego, in fact, there's, this weekend, I think.
Really?
There's some more going on, I think, in San Diego.
But the real one's in Long Beach, right?
Well, they're all over.
They're all over it. They're really all over.
In fact, I watched
Monterey.
I watched
According
really
to
fascinating one.
Wikipedia, it's.
I watched a really fascinating one last
Really?
night
Yeah.
about a guy, about memory training. And about how he was covering it. He said, this is the dullest thing I've ever seen. But I got talking to some of the people, and I tried doing it. I came back the next year, I won the competition. But he had people there who could take, you know, like 30 shuffled decks of cards, and in 30 minutes memorize them.
Wow.
Or could memorize 4,000 binary digits. And they said the techniques have been done for thousands of years. It's basically it's called the magic castle, memory castle. That is, you put things in certain areas and you associate something memorable with each
It's all about association. Huh?
And they said the way you give a talk is the way I give this talk is I just associated each of the topics in order with locations where these bizarre things take place.
And you know what?
That's really cool.
On the topic of synesthesia, that's exactly how that works too, because I saw a thing about a guy who could solve these incredible math problems in his head because the numbers are all, I think they're colors, or I don't remember exactly what colors or shapes or something. And when he hears the numbers, he puts them together with the shapes that they are, and the resulting shape gives him the answer like that. I mean, he's as fast as a computer.
Well, that's why I kind of, you know, I like this idea because I think it really works with what you're doing as far as mapping, you know, mapping plus, and it also just happens to totally coincide with Tonescape.
Tonescape uses tiny Minkowski reduction
Yeah.
to make the lattices.
So anyway, are
If you
you
wanted
interested
to.
in?
Doesn't
You need
That's
it.
non-Euclidean.
Well, it's one type of non-Euclidean geometry. It's where you have a discrete lattice. So, you know, your shortest distance say between this.
Instead of a squared plus b squared.
This is the shortest distance, you can't go through there. You have to
Right.
go through lattice points.
I see.
To that extent, it's non-Euclidean.
Okay.
There's two other non-Euclidean, well, actually, there's a lot of maybe infinite number of non-Euclidean, but the two important ones are the elliptical and the hyperbolic.
But I think,
No,
I think people
modern-
could,
Our system isn't, it isn't non-Euclidean, it's Euclidean.
Well, it's.
I think it's this.
it has that matrix.
It has
It has a matrix, but the matrix is only
It is the
identifiers.
yeah.
It's continuous space.
continuous
It's
space.
continuous Cartesian space.
Right.
Yeah, Euclidean space, yeah.
All right, anyway, that's just the concept.
Well,
Alright,
But
I just thought people could understand.
but wait a minute.
better.
Wait, actually.
This is much more difficult to understand.
No, wait a minute. Actually, like, I'm thinking about what Tonescape does now. You can create a two-dimensional taxicab lattice like that.
yeah, or three-dimensional or.
Well, if you make a two-dimensional one, you can use the third dimension to warp it into the helix or the torus, and then you've got a whole different ball of wax.
Oh, well,
Well,
You
then,
know?
now you're really far-fetched as far as.
Well,
no, once you do that, you actually end up with a elliptical space.
is that what it is?
You know,
Yeah.
but it's a discrete one.
Paul Ehrlich had these arguments with me that it doesn't matter how you lattice a mean tone around the helix because it always means the same helix all the time. But I said, well, yes, but
It looks different.
it spirals around the
Yeah.
helix a different way
Yeah, there's
depending
various,
on what mean tone.
yeah,
it
there's
is.
various ways of,
Yeah.
presenting it, yeah. Yeah.
So in the one sense, it does always refer to the same helix.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the just intonation pitches that it's supposed to represent.
I don't
but-
understand this obsession with mean tone, because all it does is sound like your thirds a little bit flat, your fifths are flat. I mean, you know, for Baroque music, yes, mean tone sounds very good on a Baroque organ
Yeah.
or on a harpsichord, but you know,
Yeah, but from a historical point of view, it's really important because
Yeah.
our whole
Yeah.
standard music theory is based
Well, our
on mean tone.
notation's based on it too.
No, not really. Our
You know,
notation is based on the Pythagorean.
Okay, okay,
But it just so happens that mean tone
Yeah,
fits
yeah,
the Pythagorean
yeah,
scheme
yeah.
to a degree.
to a degree.
I have an ending point
shoot,
of
We can talk
devotion.
about that more.
of what?
Of devotion.
Of devotion.
Lattice spray.
Let us leave.
You got out of my mouth, exactly.
A little team.